morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Vive Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning, and hello, kids, and welcome to season. That's way too. Yeah.
Hang on. I was trying to give you the mountain town scene here, but for some reason I was getting feedback.
Yeah. All right, let's try that again. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 420 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Or maybe I should say, on the Crier Media Network. Strum guitar. Boom. Because Mr. Grizzly is live from Alberta.
Yes, I am. Very
there
much.
We go. Yes.
I don't know how alive I am, though. It is. I did get up at 4:30 in the morning.
I know.
To do this, so
I can't believe you're doing this.
Dedication.
I know. Wow.
Today, and I thought, let's see if we can take this on the road. I want to see how much I can take on the road. So I'm trying some new tech. I got new wireless mic here.
Oh,
how
nice.
does it sound? By the way, does it sound okay?
It sounds good, yeah.
Yeah, it's not my usual studio mic, obviously, because I'm mobile, but I thought I'd give this a go. And I did record a bunch of... It's good? Okay, so I recorded a bunch of stuff yesterday. I'll show you some pictures. I thought I'd start off with one, and then we'll jump right into the rest of it. But This is on the main street here, Connaught Street in Jasper. I thought it'd be appropriate to put that up,
It's Mr. Grizzly posing with a... it's not exactly a billboard. I don't know. It's like one of those.
It's
a marker?
information kiosk, and it's telling you, and it's in both official languages, by the way. On the other side, it's in Français, but it's warning people about grizzly bears in the area, and there are grizzlies around here. So it's like elk, grizzly, mountain goats, you name it. So
there's a grizzly in town. Whoa, beware. Today, recording day is Monday, July 8th, 2024, and it is a gorgeous day here at the Beaver Lodge, as you can tell. Bright sun. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, and as you can hear with me, as always, and really bright and early where he is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Vive Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, how's your vacation going? How's your mental health today?
Mental health is outstanding, other than the fact that I'm a little tired right now, but vacation's going great thus far. Like I said, currently in Jasper, which is a bit of a drive from Calgary.
Yeah.
But it's all through the Rockies the whole way. So I got lots and lots of footage and photos to show you later. I just haven't had a chance to assemble them yet because, I am on vacation.
Yes. Enjoy the vacation.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time for what I did on my vacation once you get back from it rather than during it.
Well, one would think, right?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my word. But hey, and uneventful travels to get there, I would assume?
Yeah, everything went smoothly.
Good.
No issues really.
None
whatsoever. So,
and
I can't complain.
How was your birthday?
Nothing special. I mean, really, it was. I worked all day, and then we got home, packed. I went for a quick pint to watch a little bit of soccer, and then to the airport on the plane, and here we are. Our flight was delayed by a little over an hour, so we got here pretty late. So Saturday morning we slept in a little bit. Well, anyway.
Yeah. On our end too, but I had got, that thing when you keep on trying to make a plan to do something and then like things just kept. I keep on thinking of that, like Roadrunner and Coyote when they had those little like black circles that Coyote would like throw like this, and they were like these holes that things would fall in. This, and it's like somebody's just like sliding them, because when the mental health walk was done, I was done. And then a really, really good friend of mine had a play in the One Act Festival here that just took place last week, and wanted, he was missing someone, and he called me, and it's like, I really don't want to happily do it.
Okay.
Right? I won't be walking it. I will do it, and I will do it happily. I'll be fully committed. Don't worry. But only because you asked. Nobody else. Right? Because I really, 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 he's a good friend, and this, when a friend needs help, you help. So if you can't help, you can, like I said, fortunately, because it was doing more clown work. I don't know if I had showed the pictures on the show.
Yes, you did. You look like Heath Ledger from The Joker.
Yeah. But since it was clown work, it didn't involve any lines. It was just movement, and I figured that I could do. So it was no problem. Well, I finished that, and as I mentioned on Friday's show, I stepped down from the board of Domino Theater. So I am now literally just my work, the show, my Beaver sweetie, my tennis, and that's all I got going on. And I've been trying to get here since about December 12th, right? But more stuff happened. Saturday, somebody wrote me and said, there's a play going on in a little town outside of here, and we really need someone who can play a hippie.
Yeah, I suppose you could do that.
Yes. And I've worked with this person before, and I absolutely want to say, I'm really done for now. Except he let it drop, and unfortunately I have to be cryptic, but that a certain celebrity who I actually really like
going to be in the play?
Might be at the opening.
Oh, okay.
Or so you want to planned to be at the opening. And so I'm sitting there, it's like, ugh. But now it's like part of me would be doing it, yes, to do it if I did it, but really only to have a chance to meet the celebrity. Which is a really bad reason to do it.
Self-serving.
Well, self-serving, yes, absolutely. And then there's part of me that, because, as an actor like this, you can't help but think it's like, hey, wait a minute. If I'm really good on that particular night, you never know.
Right? Yeah.
So, but I am really pooped. Like Saturday, I think for last week, my Beaver sweetie and I went out for sushi, all you can eat sushi, and it was like we decided it was on a Saturday, I think, so we decided to try to go like just a little before 5 or at 5 so we could get in, because it's a really small mom and pop place, best place in Kingston, called Sapporo. Absolutely go if you're in Kingston to go. but it only has like about 8 tables, so it gets really full really quickly. We tried going once on a Saturday evening, and we had to wait for a while, and then of course, the people there that run it will stay open, and keep serving you if you're out in the restaurant when the restaurant closes. But they like to close by a certain time, and we had basically kept them there like an extra hour, right?
Okay.
Not just us, but a couple of us.
Right.
So we don't want to go a little early, so that didn't happen. So, well, this time we got in early enough. We got there just finally. We were trying to aim at like just to be there just before 5. We got there around 5:15, and we were fine. But around the end of the meal, my Beaver sweetie was talking to me, and I was literally falling asleep, sitting down at the table, holding chopsticks. Like, actually did fall asleep about 3 or 4 times. Like this, and he got upset with me because I wasn't listening. It's like, dude, I can't. If I'm falling asleep at a table in a restaurant, standing up, it's because I really have no control. I'm just dead tired. This beaver is tired. Okay.
Oh, I have no doubt.
And Saturday was like, I think at 4 different occasions during the day, I just stretched out and fell asleep. I've been narcoleptic pretty much for the last week. I am feeling real good today. I'm feeling real good today. Like normally,
I'm not awake yet. I haven't had coffee, so I'm
I was in bed by 10 o'clock on Friday and Saturday and Sunday and loved it. I'm getting old. But yes, I am feeling much better, and with the resignation, a bit of a weight off my shoulders, breathing a little easier. Things with insurance are going well post-accident, so breathing easier on that front. So yeah, feeling good. I'm still tired. Like I could feel it in my body, but I'm not dropping, falling asleep on buses, missing my stop, just falling asleep every time I conk out, or anytime, like when we did the show on Friday, it's a 1-act festival, so there are a couple shows after us, so I went into the audience to watch the shows. As soon as they turned out the lights, I fell asleep. I couldn't stay awake. I was exhausted.
That's exhaustion for sure.
Yeah. So brighter, more bright-eyed, more bushy-tailed, all that good stuff. But yes, I literally, at the moment, have plans for doing nothing, and it's going to be that way for a while because I need to recharge my battery. I really was running on fumes I was tired before the last month before the mental health walk. And since then, I have really been running on fumes. I've been trying to keep it all together, but things have slipped. I've been making uncharacteristic errors. I like to own up to stuff, but there's lots of things that I was letting slip through the cracks and just hoping no one would notice.
Somebody always notices.
Yeah, I know. But rather than saying, I'm going to have to let that slip through the cracks. So, yeah, my mental health is much, much better.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
I'm sure mine will be great once I wake up.
So,
I think the coffee shop just opened. I'll go grab a coffee in a minute. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So, long bit about that, Kids and Cubs, just to let you know, and anybody who sent us some kind messages, thank you so much. Yes, I made the choice to choose me for the next little bit, and that's what's going to be going on, and I'm not feeling guilty about it one little bit.
No, you shouldn't.
No.
You need to get your beauty sleep.
Yes, I know. This doesn't just happen, The kits demand glamour. Kit, the Queen Beaver, needs to make sure that the beauty sleep does take place, or else we disappoint the subjects. We can't have that. The compatriots need to worship and adore.
Okay.
Speaking of worshiping and adoring, Vive la France!
Yeah, I saw that.
Holy! Now,
To the sing and Trudeau, you pay attention.
Yes, exactly. That was my first thought, right? But now, for me, this is not much of a surprise because, as we reported on the show on Friday, we reported about the 200 potential candidates that had pulled out I think it was 218 or something that had pulled out, third place candidates in order to consolidate the anti-right vote, right? So basically, the media was presenting this as the French were being put on a slow march to fascism. And then French people and the French politicians said, oh, fuck no. Because there's still enough of us around who remember what life was like. 1942, 1940 in Paris and in France. And we're not doing that again. Right? We're not doing that again. So this is being reported as a big shocking surprise and whatnot. I'm fine with that, but it wasn't if you knew what was going on, right? This was going to happen. The more shocking surprise is that the Rallye National didn't at least finish second, that they did finish third, that Macron's gamble, where everybody was saying that Macron was, toasted and torching himself, his gamble actually paid off. Now, he is a weakened president, yes, because a coalition of leftist parties that do not involve his party did get the most seats. So that is going to require the Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, to step down as Prime Minister to make room for Prime Minister from the party or the coalition that has the most seats. But Macron's coalition, more centrist coalition, finished second, ahead of Le Pen's group, which means in this context, given that France has a totally hung parliament, no group got a majority onto itself, that Macron is still going to be playing some type of role, and that some elements of his policy agenda, whereas a couple of days ago everybody was saying his entire policy agenda for the next 3 years, because he's got 3 years left in his term as president, was going to be all thrown in a pot, because he would have had to have what's called a cohabitation parliament in France with a far-right party, had everything gone according to the way that the first vote went down. But that didn't happen. So he still has a cohabitation government, but with a group of leftist parties when he's more his group is more centrist rather than far-right. Something he would take any day.
I would think so.
As opposed to, being completely wiped out like this, and then just essentially, because in France, the way things work, in this case, when there's a hung parliament, there's way more power that goes to the prime minister. I guess, and then the president's job becomes much more ceremonial. When the president's party has a bigger, or coalition has the run of the house, well, then the prime minister is actually more ceremonial in this case. So yeah, French politics are interesting, and they don't translate directly to Canadian politics. And there's a kit mentioning that Evan Scrimshaw wrote an article about that, and an opinion piece on that, which I have not read yet, so I can't speak to it. But if that's the central thesis of it, pardon, Mr. Grizzly, your sound disappeared.
I haven't looked at my email in a couple of days, so I've probably got 2,000 unread emails, and Scrimshaw's in there somewhere. But
it's in there somewhere.
I'm not spending time looking at email right now.
Oh, no, do not. So if the central thesis is that, it cannot apply directly here, that is correct. I don't know what reasons he uses to get there, but that is definitely correct. So voter turnout was expected to be high and has been reported as high. I'm not sure if it was the highest in decades, but it was, buzz about it was that it would probably be among the highest in decades. There have only been 3 cohabitation parliaments in the modern Republic of France. And the last one was 1997 to 2002 when we had a conservative president, Jacques Chirac, with a socialist prime minister, Lionel Jasper. So Macron's political agenda will definitely get to remain a bit in some portion because there's probably going to be some negotiation with the leftist coalition in terms of how things will run and what's going to be presented. This is better for the environment. This is better for Ukraine than the alternative, which is also good. Macron's may have gotten the benefit as well of having his historical standing increase once he steps down as president, because he is now the man who took a gamble and was willing to sacrifice his own presidency, I guess, and his own control of power in order to block a rise of the far right the second it seemed to emerge that they might rise again. So the first round, everybody was saying, oh my God, what a terrible decision. He was bad to call these snap elections. Look, the far right won the first round. And then the advantage of a runoff is that you get to see the first result and decide whether or not you want to confirm that or go, oh crap, we can't have that, and make adjustments. Because when we're talking about a single transferable vote, for example, which we were talking about in Canada, when we were talking about election reform, if we were going to go to ranked ballots, you do all that on the first day because you mark your number. There's no runoff. The runoff is instant. Right? So you don't have time for a week to go by to adjust. You've just voted on that day. So that's the advantage of a runoff. There's a little bit of time, and you can make an adjustment if you need to. And an adjustment was needed, and an adjustment was made. But he will be the man 20, 30, 40 years in history, going back, who made the sacrifice and was willing to show the statesmanship.
Well, for the better of the people and the nation, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of and it seemed that he lost it at first, and now he won his gamble, and because because the parliament is hung, so he actually has more influence than anybody had ever thought that he would have, even though he doesn't have as much influence as he did before. But it was you can't say it was a resounding defeat for the right, because they still emerged with about 50 more seats than they had before. But it's like, no, there are more of us than there are of you, and right now we are going to just Big Tenth this right now. So this was really really interesting, and what was going to be written about him in history, this has changed because of these last few events of the last few weeks. Macron will stay on as the president until the end of his term, until 2027. If the far right had secured the most seats, it would have been the first time since World War II that had happened. Apparently, according to news reports, Le Pen had given an interview to Christiane Amanpour in the days leading up to the vote, and it seems that headquarters were fully stocked with champagne. Hold on, I think I might need a drink here.
I can't get anything.
Now remember, champagne has to be from the Champagne region of France, or else it's just sparkling white. So yes, apparently she had cases of champagne ready that apparently, I guess were open and consumed, but
for a different reason.
I drink to forget. Je bois pour oublier. She also had, during that interview, some choice words for French soccer player Mbappe, who had gone on the record and saying, I normally don't do this kind of stuff, but yeah, you can't vote for her. Them.
It's terrible.
And it seems that he was asked about it a second time, and instead of backing down, he doubled down by saying he didn't want to represent a country that did not represent his values. And she had a sort of a shut up and dribble or whatnot, and was like, or you don't speak for the French people type thing. Well, neither do you, honey boo boo.
He actually speaks for the French people more than she does because he's representing the nation on the world stage.
Yes, and some people are
nothing.
Yeah, some people are wondering also if France, having secured that big win at the Euro, because they're down to the Final Four now, showing the diversity of France coming together in order to make a big success, maybe had a little bit of play, because France is soccer mad.
Oh yeah.
That's they love their football. So maybe that had something to do with it. When you're writing in the press, right, you take the allegories from all over, right, and it gets all put into the zeitgeist. And yes, at that moment, as there was a march to the far right, you had the French team that was very diverse having success at the Euro. Right? There's these narratives do play out, and sports are often a proxy for politics or war. Or
compare and contrast that with what Pierre Poilievre did over the last few days during the Pride Parade in Toronto.
We'll get to that. Yeah, I know. I'm not impressed.
He was at Stampede, but I didn't see him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people at Stampede. If you've never been before, it's think of the CNE or Super X, or it's effectively that with just horse racing. That's what it is,
and everything, right?
Well, it's an agricultural fair ultimately, but it's a very, very big one, and it's the whole city. The people who don't. There's a lot of people who live in Calgary who leave during Stampede.
Oh yeah,
and there's a lot of people who come from all over the province and around the world and throughout the country as well. So,
yeah, and there's a midway there and everything, right?
That's why I say it's just like the CNE. It's a giant midway. It's mostly about the midway.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's mostly about the midway.
Okay. See, I thought it would have been mostly about the other stuff, and then there happened to be a midway.
No. The midway is a massive draw. Like they sell it as the greatest outdoor show on earth, with the chuck wagon races, which I disagree with. The barrel racing, I don't have a problem with. Some of the elements, the rodeo aspects, sure, but it really is an agricultural fair. But the midway, it's a large midway, and there's games and win prizes and stuff. It's going to the X. It's the CNE or the Super X.
Okay. See, I'd never been. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I'd have to go sometime too. I think I would like to do that at least once in my life. Go to the Stampede.
Well, Smith was there. Pierre Poilievre was there. I didn't see either one of them, and my friend, who I haven't seen in a while because we go and run in very different circles. But Rana was there. I just didn't happen to see her. So.
Yeah. Right. So that's it for what we have right now for what's going on in France. There was another election that happened as well, because as you remember, I think in May, the president, where's the prime minister? I can't remember off the top of my head. I should know that, of Iran, the president of Iran, died in a helicopter crash as he was coming back from inaugurating a dam, I believe, in the northeast part of the nation, if I'm not mistaken. Well, they had their runoff as well in Iran, and one reformist candidate was allowed to run by the group of people that get to determine who gets to run. And his name is Masoud Pezeshkian. And he won the presidential runoff election, beating conservative Saeed Jalili. Pezeshkian got 53.7% of the vote, about 3 million votes ahead of Jalili, who received 44.3%. Iran's Interior Ministry says that turnout was low, 49.8%. The elections were boycotted by a lot of people who just do not support the government in any way, shape, or form. But despite the boycott, the reformist candidate did win. Now, we have to put the caveat that in Iran, when you have a reformist candidate, it is, of all the potential reformist candidates, the one they would allow to run. So, reformist, but how ambitious?
And how willing are they to let him pursue anything?
Exactly. So, but the one reformist candidate that Iran's Guardian Council allowed to run did end up winning. The incoming president issued a statement on Twitter saying, quote, "The election is over, and this is just the beginning of our partnership. The difficult path ahead will not be paved except with your companionship, empathy, and trust. I extend my hand to you, and I swear on my honor that I will not leave you alone in this path. I stand with you. Stand with me."
Well, they're saying the right things, but will they let him say anything is the question.
Yeah, indeed.
Anything that they don't approve is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Now, Jalili, the conservative candidate, was campaigning on rejecting building relations with the West, saying Iran should build its economy by expanding ties with other countries such as Russia and China. And Mr. Pezeshkian, who's a physician, wants to negotiate with Western countries and get economic sanctions that stifle the country lifted. So it's two different approaches. So we'll see what happens. But there again, also, if we're trying to look for positive signs, it was the reformist candidate who won. So, we have the UK, you have France, you have Iran, because even though the EU Parliament had more right seats, it seems that over there as well, there's a coalition of centrist and left parties that are looking to do whatever's needed there to be able to, quash that. In Brazil as well, there's Bolsonaro has more things going on legally that seem to have been popping up. Australia ditched its conservative government as well. So, but there are other places that went right: Italy, Sweden, the Netherlands. Poland went left in its most recent election. So the eyes of the world are now turning to the United States and Canada.
Yeah, so let's not screw it up.
Yeah, those are the next two. And it's the United States first. And in the United States, even though we have some parallel tracks going on in Canada and the United States, right? Like this, both of them, it's like the leader has to go. Trudeau's, he's been there so long, and in the States because he's just too damn old.
Yeah,
right? And it's like he's losing his mind. It's like, have you seen the other guy? Really? It's like
one has lost his mind.
I know Biden has to go because he's old and forgets a couple of things now and then. The other guy is literally insane as of his 34 felonies.
Yeah.
But we're not going to ask about whether or not he needs to go, right? Just get rid of the old guy. Get rid of the other guy. The other guy is just 3 years younger. Get rid of the old guy. He's too old. Well, that's what happens when you dye your hair and get bronzed.
So think about this. Compare and contrast to France, who recently had riots because they tried to raise the retirement age from 62 to 65.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in the United States of America, you've got an octogenarian and one who's pushing towards becoming an octogenarian, desperately wanting to go to work.
Yes. Right. So in the States, it's like, when is Joe stepping down? In Canada, it's, when is Trudeau stepping down? Like, I remember Jean Chrétien talking about the nervous Nellies.
Mm-hmm.
The nervous Nellies are in full panic mode.
Yes.
Now, in the United States, what President Biden has going for him, that is not exactly here the case in Canada, is that they have ballot initiatives. People can petition to put votes on the ballot for things like, for example, legalizing marijuana, right? The Republicans showed the Democrats that trick a few years ago when they were voting to keep marriage between a man and a woman. They put those ballot initiatives on, and they got people to come out, and then George Bush II won his second term. So the Democrats picked up on that, because there are 5 states on which there are ballot initiatives with regard to the right to choice. There are 11 more states where they've got enough signatures to put them on the ballot right now. So they'll be able to use those issues to drive out turnout. If people are feeling unenthusiastic about Joe, they will probably feel more enthusiastic about voting to keep the right to an abortion, or taking gerrymandering power away. Measures like that. And then while they're there, well, hey, we'll vote down ballot and we'll vote for the president, right? But in Canada, we don't have that. And in Canada, unfortunately, it seems that our left, and when I'm saying in this case, right, left, and center, I am talking not where they sit on the ideological spectrum, but relative to each other. Conservatives are on the right, the Democrats are on the left, the Liberals represent the center. Wherever it is, they are manspreading on the political spectrum all the time. Sometimes it's more to the right, sometimes it's more to the left of center. But because the Conservatives have gone so far right, there's so much room.
Yeah, there really
to
is.
occupy center right from the Liberals, and center left from the New Democrats have gone so far left as well. Because that the center is completely open, right? Which is almost too much territory for a party. It's almost schizophrenic, because sometimes the Liberals are on the left, because National School Food Program and Canada Child Benefit and disability benefit, and then other times they're on the right, increasing our defense spending from 1.33% to 1.76%, for example. Right? So it's hard. It makes it hard to tell a narrative, because sometimes there's too many things from either side. And the thing is, as we keep on saying on the show, you need a balance of right and left. Right? You need a balance. For it to work well, you need some type of balance. Because center right, center left, hopefully, but you need some balance. Right? Let's just keep the pendulum from swinging too far. We don't have ballot initiatives, and because the way the votes are distributed to Canada, our votes are very regional. So if you're looking in Ontario, the battle is in between Conservatives and Liberals. But if you're looking in British Columbia, other than the Vancouver region, because the battle is in between the NDP and the Conservatives. In Saskatchewan, the battle is in between the NDP and the Conservatives. In Alberta, it's in between the NDP and the Conservatives. Federally. Right? So the map is set out very easily, because the Liberals could very easily say, well, other than these couple of ridings here in Alberta, it's like we don't have a chance. We will not run a candidate. Yes, so New Democrats might be able to win a few more seats.
Right.
I guess that any party other than Conservatives, from the interior of British Columbia all the way to the tip of Manitoba, like this, can win fewer than everything but 6 seats, right? Or 7, or how many it is that they get, just make a dent in that. But we have absolutely no tradition of that in Canada. And because of the by-election loss in Toronto St. Paul's, and potentially a couple of other by-election losses that might come, right? Because there are about 3 or more that need to be declared before we actually have our election day. Well, the NDP are sort of feeling a little, whoa, wait a minute. We knew it would be close, but we didn't think they'd actually lose. Maybe that means something for us. Which means they are not thinking. They are not thinking of looking at the map strategically and saying where it is that we should pull out in order to make sure that we don't end up with the thing. Well, we don't end up with the thing that we as Canadians think the NDP want the least, which would be a conservative government, because if they actually believe in the programs, this is, they're not there at all, right? It seems to me, if you're about the programs, about the policy, that if you can't have an NDP, you would much rather have a Liberal than a Conservative, because with the Conservative you're getting 0 of what you want, whereas the Liberals you might be getting some of what you want, or a portion of what you want, or at least the establishments of some of the things you want, even though it didn't go all the way. That's something that you can build on for the future. But for some reason in Canada, it seems that the NDPs would rather that the Conservatives govern than the Liberals, if it can't be them.
It certainly seems that way. I mean, by their messaging and the way they carry on, the way every time Mr. Singh has an opportunity to take a shot at the Prime Minister because he's like, I'm like, dude, you guys want effectively the same thing. Why are you fighting against him, which will put the other guy in a position to win? Kind of like Andrea Horwath did in Ontario by picking on Stephen Del Duca?
Stephen Del Duca.
Stephen Del Duca, thank you.
See how much he rated?
Yeah. But she picked on him the whole time, and I'm like, why are you attacking him? He wasn't in power. This guy over here with his binder that he brought to a debate when they told you not to bring anything, the guy who's currently in power, why aren't you attacking him for his policies and what he's... It's like you're biting off your nose to spite your face. And I just don't understand that kind of politicking.
Nope, neither do I. So we have no. Now, the one thing that could give you a glimmer of hope is Mr. Singh did sign the confidence and supply agreement, which made it such that like any aspirations that the Conservative had to like some point 2 years in take down this minority government, it's like, yeah, you just put that to bed. That ain't happening. We're going to do a full 4 years like this. So one could hope that if they did that, then maybe the next step, if the polls are indicating that the Conservatives are marching to a 200-seat majority type thing, it's not necessarily something you can rule out Mr. Singh agreeing to or doing, because he has done a sort of a version of it this last time around. So you know that he does have the ability to see the bigger picture. But yes, our political culture is definitely not geared that way, and I think it might have something to do with, if ever there was that type of collaboration, then that would immediately bring talk of, well, why don't you just merge? And if there's one thing that a New Democrat does definitely not want to do, a hardcore New Democrat, is merge with the Liberals, right? So it's like their identity is very, 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 very important. So yeah, I am not I'm not entirely unhopeful, but given how Mr. Singh seems to swing back and forth between, hey, I'm going to be helpful, hey, I'm going to take a shot, hey, I'm going to be helpful, rather than just having a consistent lane, yeah. The only way I can see it happen is if Mr. Singh is pretty clear, based on polling, that he's like, still in the 18 or 17% rather than the low 20s, and it looks like his 26 seats might be cut down to 13. Then he might see it in his interest to run non-competes with the Liberals if that could mean, hey, him emerging with 30-something. Which might allow him to keep his job. Might.
Possibly. Conceivably.
If he goes down to 13, no. If he makes a bold move in terms of some type of non-aggression pact in certain ridings like this and allows him to keep his 26 or even gain a few more, that might allow him to stay. So there could be a self-interest portion there too. All right. Whoops. It's funny how it... I think if you sit closer in, Mr. Grizzly, cut the music down. No. All right. It's weird because it's been gone for most of the show, and every now and then every now and then it pops in.
Well, it's because I keep muting my microphone to try and avoid picking it up. I don't know if it's going to be audible enough to get us a copyright violation. We'll have the audio version that I can. What I could theoretically do is go in, clean up the audio, remove the background sound, and then reapply it to the video version if I have to. So we'll see.
Yeah.
There's only so much control I have over it when I'm, 3,000 kilometers away.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that's where the table is set right now. Now over here, for the Prime Minister, because there's a lot of reporting what's going on behind the scenes. As we mentioned, one MP suggested that he should step down. One former MP went on the record, former cabinet minister. There was some talk about maybe having some type of big meeting. That is not going to happen before September, according to the Liberal caucus chair, Brendan Shanahan. She says it's logically impossible, even though there have been a number of requests. Susan Delacourt was on The House this weekend, CBC's The House, and made an interesting comment saying, as well as I can know him over the last 14 years, it's not like conversations or whatnot, said, quote, if he's staying, it's not a vanity project. He's a little more complex than that. So that was kind of every now and then you listen to an interview like this, and I was listening to what she had to say, and it was good, but there was nothing I needed to take notes on specifically. And then she just ended with that somewhere, and was like, oh.
Yeah, so she paid attention, right? Like paying attention. It's not a vanity project. It's literally trying to better the nation and better the nation for everybody in it.
Yeah,
not just as many politicians do, try and make things better for those who are wealthy and have power. He's trying to make it better for those who don't.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's going on. How do I put it? There is a mood within it, within the group. It seems that, for example, the way it's being described is that there's sort of like three groups that are popping up. The ones who say that he needs to go now, people that say that he's earned the right to go whenever he wants, and then other people that are waiting to see how things happen between now and September. There was a Liberal insider, this is according to iPolitics, a Liberal insider who asked not to be identified, said, is the one that mentioned that these three groups existed. He said the MPs the group that says we're okay with you, but we need to see some changes. They are calling for, quote, serious, real, authentic, genuine disruption, not just minor reforms that wouldn't seriously alter the public's perception of the party and government. So they want, maybe some sharp contrasting policies, some different, a sharp, noticeable change in comms. Like I said, maybe on an environmental policy, for example, maybe instead of saying, we're going to make this slight adjustment incremental, taking like a bigger leap to make it clear, to show that you have a clear agenda and that you're not tired, and that you have direction and purpose, and all that. But they want something. It has to be. They want some type of moment. For example, yes, Linda, UBI might be one like this.
Yeah,
or
it could
running
be.
to enshrine the right to choice in our Constitution could be another. Yes. Even though the electoral reform project seems to be dead, he could, if he wanted to, try it again, but just outright saying, I'm running on ranked ballots, not some nebulous form of electoral reform that I'm going to let other people choose and whatnot. I did that last time. It didn't work out. Ranked ballots. Boom. It might be bold enough, right? But they are looking for something bolder. So I don't know what it could be, or making.
I think UBI would be the right choice, to be honest with you. Yeah. I really do. I think it would. I think it would push them over the top, and I think there are millions of Canadians who, a silent majority, if you will, who are on board with the idea of UBI because they saw how CERB saved lives, and CERB was not even close to what a UBI would be, right? I mean, a UBI would be in addition to what you have. So if you already have an income, you're going to get a UBI as well to help prop you up. And that, to think of it, with a UBI, we could get rid of workfare or welfare, whichever you call it, wherever you live. We could get rid of EI and ODSP or disability. We could wipe the slate clean with all of that.
OAS, GIS, the Canada Child Benefit, all of that.
All of it. Yeah, all of it could go. So you could have one program that could fix all of this. So you think of the administrative costs that we could reduce, number one. Yes, there would be a huge ramp up to make it happen. Yeah, and you could have to merge all these different people together. And you could cut down on administrative costs without actually killing a lot of jobs, because now you're dealing with 41,500,000 people, every Canadian, instead of just pockets here and there. Right. And it could be run federally instead of at a provincial level. Now, you might have provinces that push back on that, but I'm like, why would you want to control that? It should be a national federal program, so that every Canadian gets help, just like CERB did.
Right.
So I think if they push it properly, they could really do something with this.
The only way I could see it is if the amount was regionally adjusted.
Yes, and that would make sense. Because if you live in downtown Calgary or downtown Toronto or downtown Vancouver, in any one of those, the major cities in Canada, and at one point in time there were only 3, but that's not the case anymore. Edmonton is 1.2 million, Calgary is 1.5 million, Ottawa-Gatineau is 1.6.
Right.
So, you're looking at 6 cities in this country that have over 1 million people, and a couple that are approaching it faster than we expected, as in Quebec City and
Halifax.
Halifax is over 500,000, and the province is over 1 million, and it's not shrinking; it is growing.
It's growing. Yep.
So I think Halifax might be the next city. I think Quebec City might hit it sooner, only because it's already a larger city to begin with. But I think it'll be Quebec City, and then very shortly after that, Halifax will hit 1 million. So major population centers like that will need an adjusted UBI according to whatever the costs of rent and groceries and food are. And I've noticed little things here in Alberta, like the first day I went out and grabbed a coffee and a tea for myself and for Mademoiselle Fox, and it was $10 with tax and tip for a coffee and a tea. So I thought, well, that's going to be expensive. Tomorrow I'll go across the street to the Circle K and I'll get a coffee and a tea, because they sell David's tea in the bags, and got a boiling water kettle. That was $6.50. So I'm not saving anything at the corner store. When I go to the Quickie, which used to be Bouchie's on Elgin Street in downtown Ottawa, I can get a coffee for, I think, $1.50. So there's little things adjusted regionally, like coffee's really expensive here. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be hard to do, because Statistics Canada already monitors that information when
they have all that.
like this. They'd have the nation divided, I think, in like 23 or 26 different regions or something like that. And they keep that. So, I mean, it was just, but that would be the only reason I would see like, potential provincial involvement is because they would want to regionally adjust it. But then again, that doesn't need to be coordinated. Given statistics Canada already has, you just take the model, you plop it in, and that could be done federally as well.
So I want to give you an interesting footnote to how sometimes you see things differently when you travel. And I mean, I've been here before. I used to live in Alberta, and I've been to Jasper. It's been 50 years since I've been to Jasper, and it hasn't actually changed a whole lot. It's a town of 4,700 people, roughly, maybe 5,000 at the high end. It's largely tourism, and we went for a little walk yesterday, just through the main sort of drag, and passed by 5 cannabis stores and 5 liquor stores in a town of 5,000 people. Yeah, right. That was my sort of realization too. Now, keep in mind the liquor stores here are independently owned and operated, but there are some. And what they discovered that there's largely oligopolies where the little stores got bought up by bigger companies, and it wasn't just a provincial thing. So now you've got like 2 or 3 companies that run the vast majority, and some, like the one we stopped in yesterday, and just to check it out because it's a really nice store. It closes at 8 p.m. We're down a side street, and that it opens at 11 a.m. and closes at 1 a.m. So the hours are all over the map too. It's just, yeah. So, take from that what you will. It's just, I find it interesting.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. I like that. Darn. I was there was an article I wanted to bring in, but unfortunately it is behind paywall. It's not great. But it would seem that if there is, when we're looking in the United States and we're looking at the media frenzy about, is Joe Biden going to step down? And in Canada, is Trudeau going to step down? Even though there is reports on stuff going on behind the scenes, the number of people that seem to have complaints that they want to state aloud with attribution is very, very, very low. And according to the Globe and Mail, they're reporting that Liberal sources say most MPs don't want a caucus meeting. So there are some that are asking for it within the group, that they're panicking, but that most don't want it. And when you add that to the data that we got from polling, that most Canadians believe that the Prime Minister will stay. Yes. Of the parties, I think like about over 80% of NDP supporters say that Jagmeet Singh should be there. Over 80% of the Conservative supporters say that Poilievre should be there. For the Liberals, it's about 62. It says that Trudeau should be there. So the voters haven't completely abandoned him, but he is a bit of a deficit. We have the Toronto St. Paul by-election, which, yes, the Conservatives did win, but the Conservatives were highly, highly, highly motivated to get their vote out. And it's not like the Liberal vote collapsed.
No, it was a very tight race. What was it, 600?
Yeah.
600 votes or something?
Yeah, 655 votes or something like that.
Yeah, that difference. And there was, 78 candidates? No, 85 candidates, 78 of which were all reported to the same. It's like they flooded the zone with bullshit is what they did.
Oh, yeah. That person, we need to touch on that at some point too. But yes, like 78 of the candidates on the ballot all had the same official registrar. And there's nothing in like elections law that says you can't. But at some point it says, how is it possible to be a competent official registrar for 78 different people?
It's not.
It's like maybe there's an upper limit to the number of that happened. And it seems that one of the things that we were asking was like, well, who's paying all the registration fees? It seems that there was the person that's their official registrar had gone to court to say that registration fees for elections were unconstitutional, and it seems that the court did agree with them. So it's not costing anybody. I mean, the people that are registering, it's not costing them anything to get on the ballot.
Yeah.
It's costing us a lot to process the ballots, though.
Yeah, but nothing to get on it. So yeah, maybe that
But
should.
Nothing on it. So there's
maybe that should change. I don't know. It's
Well, I don't know about that should change, but there needs to be some. There needs to be probably more of a rule than are you of a certain age, or do you live in a certain place? Do you have citizenship, and can you sign your name here?
Well, and I
It's
think
if you can mark an X, you're my kind of candidate. I'm Terry Boyle.
I would like to think that one should reside in the community in which one intends to represent, but that's just me.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't. It's adjustments are going to need to be required at some point, because doing it this way can't.
I don't know if you noticed.
Comes with some costs and very little consequence.
I don't know if you noticed in the last few minutes the lack of background music.
Yes.
Well, my production assistant that you can see on the couch beside me, right here, she just went to the front desk and said, "Could you please turn the music off?"
I love her.
Brings me a coffee and then gets the music canceled. I'm like,
just
gotta love this woman, right?
She's a keeper. She's a keeper.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's I was up at 4:30. She said she woke up at 5 and thought, I watched the show for a little bit on the phone. I'm gonna come down and bring the coffee. And then she heard me talking about how, maybe I'll have to do this and this. She just immediately went to the front desk and got the guy to shut the music off. And I'm like, that's not something I would do, because I don't want. I'm like, I don't want to leave a footprint, right? I don't want to leave it,
right?
And I don't. But this is why
similar hardwiring.
Yeah, but this is why. And I'm going to take this out of the context of where we are right now in time and place. But this is why larger productions have production assistants to be able to take care of little things like that you just literally don't. It's not necessarily that I didn't have time for it. It's like I wouldn't know how to approach somebody. Go, excuse me, I'm doing a thing over here. Could you do that? And I feel guilty about doing it. It's an Irish Catholic guilt thing.
Right.
But you have people in your circle that deal with things like that, and Mademoiselle Fox gets shit done. So there's another case in point.
There you go.
And the pay is pretty good.
Love it. All right. Okay. Since you mentioned it, I'm going to pivot there now, and then I'll come back to the NATO stuff later.
Okay. Well, I don't want to run too long today, because we are going to go for breakfast shortly, and then we're going on a hike. So, I am on vacation after all. So
yes. No, that's why I wanted to move to it now, just in case you did have to go, because you did mention Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
Pierre was. Let me frame this way. Remember last year, maybe about a week or two ago, 1 year ago, so around mid to end June, cameras and microphones were in front of PP, and they were asking him what it is that he intended to do for Pride Month, because he had not done anything yet. He had not been seen publicly at any events. He had not made any speeches. He had not said anything. And he said, my schedule's busy, but I will get back to you on what it is I plan to do to celebrate the freedom, because apparently he's into that, of the gay community or something like that. Freedoms for which we fought, but we should have had all along and didn't get, with much help from conservatives along the way. Some of them came around near the end, but along the way, it was pretty slim pickings. Yes, because, we do have freedoms, and he's into freedom, and he wants Canada to be the freest nation on earth, allegedly. So you think he would be showing up to celebrate a group that fought so hard to get its freedom, and are now having a parade, whatnot, that is still part protest, but part about just being free to live a fully authentic life 24/7.
Yeah.
And for those of us who never went to prom, and for those of us who were sitting by the phone waiting for the call, we're still waiting.
Yeah.
For him to tell us what he would do last year. Well, this year, he hasn't been to any Pride events and hasn't said anything all month either.
No, he chose to go and do something else altogether different.
Except, and here's the thing that's particularly rubby, is that on the very day of Pride to Toronto,
Biggest parade in the country, is it not?
Yes, he was in Toronto. And he did not reach out to the community.
No.
He did not show up. He didn't acknowledge us whatsoever. No. He was not proud to stand in front of a rainbow flag or near a rainbow flag and have his pictures taken with people whose T-shirts he wouldn't read.
Yeah, that's...
to celebrate our freedom. But he did make time for not one, not two, but 3 evangelical, allegedly Christian congregations.
Allegedly.
He did have time to go to church 3 times on Pride Day in Toronto.
Sending a message.
Jamil Giovanni, hey Spike, we got to hit on some gay Spike. By his side. There are some pictures of him standing there with his eyes closed. Like this, let's have a moment of prayer. He made political speeches at these churches.
In a church, never cool. Never cool.
That was very weird. Because that should not be happening. Nope. And really should not be happening. And this visit, these visits were described by senior political journalist in Canada, David Aiken, as being groundbreaking. Now,
well, technically, he's not incorrect.
Exactly. Now, at first, I'm sitting there and going, what the hell's groundbreaking about pandering to evangelicals?
It's never been done before like this in this country. On a national stage by an opposition leader who could be theoretically the next Prime Minister of Canada. That's never been done before. That is groundbreaking. Exactly. Not in a good way, though. Yes, not everything that's groundbreaking is good.
Exactly. So his article opens, opposition leader Pierre Poilievre went to church last Sunday, not once, not twice, but 3 times, to 3 evangelical churches in the Toronto area, where he briefly participated in the services, made a short political speech, and moved on. 3 churches are on all ridings held by Liberal MPs, and the congregants are mostly members of ethnic minority communities, which makes these visits smart politics for a campaigning Conservative leader. But observers say these visits are also groundbreakers, if only because leaders of mainstream Canadian political parties have long avoided public events with evangelical Christians for fear those appearances might become a political liability. Quote, the trick is to do that without being tarred with the brush that you are an extremist, that you are an American-style Christian right-wing ideologue, which I think is toxic in Canadian politics, said sociologist Linda Bean, the author of the 2014 book, The Politics of Evangelical Identity, Local Churches and Partisan Divides in the United States and Canada. Even Stephen Harper, a member of an evangelical church himself, avoided public associations with evangelical Christians due to political considerations. Quote, I would say there's some truth to that, said Andrew Enns, a Winnipeg-based executive vice president at the polling firm Leger. Enns served as a Harper pollster during Harper's time in government. I think Harper made a point of not wanting to give opportunities to appointments to sidetrack the party in terms of debates that really weren't his priorities. And so I think there was that sensitivity and awareness that they needed to be smart about that and strategic. to ends, the fact that Poilievre is able to campaign where Harper was not able to in evangelical churches is a significant development in Poilievre's command over his party and his current position in the Canadian political firmament. Quote, it tells us that he's fairly comfortable and he's feeling fairly confident right now that he's got a message that Canadians, doesn't matter where they are, they're reacting well to. And then, it continues on here. But is Poilievre saying one thing to evangelical Christians that he's not saying elsewhere? Are there, as Stephen Harper was accused by his opponents, signs of a hidden theocon agenda at work? Poilievre's office says there is not, that his speeches to evangelical Christians are the same ones he gives to many groups and has given in Parliament. Independent journalists cannot confirm that, as they are neither told about these visits ahead of time, nor are they invited to witness them. And Global News was unable to interview the pastors of the churches Poilievre visited. One could not be reached, one did not respond to interview requests, and the other was unable to do an interview because of scheduling conflicts.
Yeah.
Think it's time to tax the churches.
Well, ones that show themselves as being politically partisan and have the leader of the opposition party come in and campaign from their pulpit. I'm sorry, you lose your tax status, period.
No. According to the article, but one of the churches that Poilievre visited last Sunday streamed the service online, including Poilievre's remarks to the congregation, and if that speech was any indication, it was very much a garden variety political speech in which the conservative leaders spoke about the carbon tax, high housing costs, and crime rates, but not in church. You're not supposed to be doing that there. Exactly. The only mention of an issue important to the so-called, quote, family values voters was a promise to support the decisions made by several of the country's conservative premiers when it comes to pronoun use by students in school. So he went to congregations in evangelical churches where there were primarily ethnic minority communities because he views these people as being more likely to be bigoted and is treating them as such. Hey, you're some fellow bigots. Quote, he said, we need to become the freest country on earth, free for you, where you are free to speak your mind, to raise your children with your own values on matters of gender and sexuality, he said in his address to the Family Life Worship Center in Brampton, Ontario. But again, this is a position he has taken during press conferences and in other fora. Yes, I know, Mr. Aiken, he's taken it in press conferences and other fora. And it's one thing to say that in a public forum. There's one thing to say it within the pews of a church.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It adds color and texture, Mr. Aiken.
You've crossed a line there. You've crossed a line.
Like, he hasn't said anything differently. Like, it's not the thing that he said. It's where he said it and to whom he said it to and with what intent.
It really is crossing a line here.
He went into
not
the
seen
place
that before.
Yes. He went into the places in which they gather and basically said, hey, if you hate these people, I hate the same people you hate. And I will make them suffer.
I think I figured out why he's such a smug, arrogant, hateful, angry man. Because he hates the fact that he's... No, I'm not going to go there. Never mind. I'm not going to go there.
All right.
I'm not going to go there.
No, apparently he didn't. Okay.
Yeah, I'll stay away from it today.
Okay.
I might approach it someday in the future, but I'm going to stay away from it today because you know what? It's a well-known open secret, but there's nothing to substantiate it or back it up. So I'm not going to.
Okay.
I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Now I know what you're talking about.
I'm going to leave it alone. And I think for me to go down that way is going into an area of politics that is not something I ever want to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get so angry by the way they behave. You know what I mean? It's like you just want to punch them.
Yep.
And let's hit them hard with this.
Yep.
But I'm not going to do that.
Yep. Yep.
I'm not going to do that.
That's the same thing for me. It's so for me, my example is
Saucy knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, for me, it's with Doug Ford. It's like, you know, because like on a lot of times I'll say you're a big fat liar.
People get mad at that, but you're not saying anything that isn't true.
I know that, but if I say you're a big fat liar to someone who's thin,
yes,
that's one thing. but because Doug Ford is the size that he is, and we don't want to body shame and whatnot, so like this. But it's like every now and then, it's just, and even like other ways, like it's like I've never made a comment about like this man who clearly has never missed a meal when talking about starving other people of funds.
Yeah.
Right. So but I am petty like the average person like this. And oh boy, have I ever wanted to many times.
We're only human.
We're only human like this. But again, there's a certain, you don't want to be that. If you don't want to be that kind of show, then right. Now, it seems that Poilievre, while he was there, did not talk about rolling back abortion, access to abortion, and did not talk about rolling back access or the ability for people to get married. But some people say, hey, well, he didn't do that, and you can believe him or not like this. I don't believe him. I don't believe him. Because, and even if he never went in with the intention of attacking same-sex marriage or abortion, let's say that that's true, if he becomes prime minister and then the people to whom he is beholden start talking, they'll want it. And if he wants to keep his job, he will do it.
This is the thing, and this is the angle that nobody seems to recognize when he says he's not going to touch it. No, he isn't, but his backbenchers will. Arnold Viersen's done it multiple times, right? So there are people in his caucus who will bring forth a private member's bill, and he will just step aside and let it happen, knowing full well that if he doesn't, he will be gone. The party will remove him because there's the puppet masters in the party that will just say, he's not doing our bidding, so he's got to go.
Yeah. I remember last time that there was some type of vote, I think there was over 80 members of the Conservative Party of Canada that voted for it. And let's not remember, like, this is not new to the Conservative Party. When it was the Progressive Conservative Party under Kim Campbell, a lot of people forget this. But way back in Kim Campbell, 33 years ago, we had Bill C-43. And that bill would have recriminalized abortion.
Right. This is nothing new in that party.
The Senate quashed that one.
Thank goodness for the Senate. Sober second thought, right?
But 33 years ago, the party from which this one emerged, the ashes from which the current party emerged, was ready. It had passed the House. So when they say, no, it's never like it, they have done it.
Yeah. They're telling people what they're telling people who are theoretically on the fence about, people are like, well, I can't vote for them because of this. Like, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, well, it's time for Trudeau to go. I'll vote for them.
Yeah.
And then, oops, it happened. It happened.
Yep. The Bill C-43, back then, just to remind you, would have sentenced doctors to 2 years in jail for providing abortions where a woman's health was not at risk. The bill was passed by the House of Commons, but died in the Senate after a tie vote. It was a tie vote in the Senate.
Yeah, that's kind of disturbing.
We were that close. We were that close. Yeah. Kitsasi, too. Aaron O'Toole was enough to prove that with the conversion therapy bill. They dumped O'Toole for Poilievre because he was against conversion therapy. Yep. Indeed. So, but the point I'm trying to make specifically on this one is that even if Pierre really, honestly, sincerely did not want to touch these two things, he becomes prime minister.
His party will.
Yes. His party will. A lot of his donors will. A lot of the extreme right-wing flank that may have parked their vote with him rather than PPC this time around, yes, will. And once you are in the position, maybe you want to keep it and are ready to make compromises.
So let me understand this correctly. He wants to make us the freest country in the world. Technically speaking, there's three of them tied for first place. I think we're in second. There are three or four: Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Denmark, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the exact number, but there's three of them that are tied for first. We're in second, and one of them is in third. And somebody says, well, that ranks us fourth because those three. Yeah, but if there's a three-way tie, we would technically be second place, right? That's how I see it anyway. So he wants to make us the freest country on earth. Well, wouldn't that mean instituting strong social programs like they have in those countries, number one? Number two, wouldn't that enshrine reproductive rights in law or in the charter, I should say? Now I realize they haven't done that there because it's not a big issue there. Like it is here amongst a certain group of people. But if he talks about making us the freest nation on earth and he's taken away a woman's right to choose, isn't that restricting freedom? I mean, I'm not that smart, but I think if you put two and two together, you're coming up with four in that one.
That's a good question.
Right? I want to make you the freest country on earth, but I'm going to take away your rights. I'm going to take away a woman's right to choose. I'm going to take away same-sex marriage. I'm going to take away... Well, that's not freedom. That's the antithesis thereof. So, I mean, the man's a hypocrite to begin with. You know how I feel about him. That's not a secret. I'm very vocal about it, and I always will be. And I'm also vocal about the fact that I would love to see a strong, healthy, progressive Conservative Party again. We haven't had that in 20 plus years. We are getting it in Manitoba under the current NDP government, led by Premier Wab Kinew. Many of the policies he's instituting are of the Joe Clark, Hugh Segal, progressive conservative variety.
Right.
And I know, some dyed-in-the-wool dippers who are going like, you know what? I can get on board with this because he's doing the right things for the people of the province. And he's lifting up those of us who have been downtrodden and pushed to the side. I mean, he goes into a school and says to school children, well, we're going to make sure everybody gets fed. Isn't that a good idea? And kids are going, well, yeah. Well, of course. People go, well, he's just preaching to the choir. Yeah, but you're going to tell me that you would have a problem with feeding school children? Well, I don't want to pay for it. Well, you're a horrible human being. You're a horrible human being if you think because it's going to cost me a couple of tax dollars more to feed children that I don't want to do it. Yeah, I'll tell you exactly where to go on that one.
It's not even so much the feeding children. I think it's sort of like, it's not like I'm opposed to feeding children. I don't want to pay to upkeep somebody else's child.
Yes.
Right. It's like blaming the parents for not doing the job of feeding the children. So it's like I would rather the child go hungry than help a parent.
Well, and
child, right? Rather than it's like nobody's out there saying like let the children starve, but it's like I can't believe you have to pay to feed your children. It's like we all the last time your child went to the hospital, we all paid for that.
Yeah.
The last time your child rode a school bus, we all pay for each other's children. What the hell?
It takes a village. It's when I've seen people actually say, that's the job of the parents to do that. Oh, yes. But you do understand some parents are absent for whatever reason. Some are working 3 jobs and are completely exhausted and can barely keep the rent paid. We're just trying to help those who need help. And if you have a problem with that, then I have a problem with you.
Right?
Period. And I'll go toe to toe with anybody who wants to challenge on that. And I will fucking eviscerate you. Yeah. If you don't want to feed children because you'd say, oh, it's the parent's job and I don't want to pay for it, go to hell. Go to hell.
Yeah. Kid Saucy has it well here. Individualism has become a problem in Canada. We are multicultural, but not living in a community. That won't go well. And we see what happened to the United States. Indeed. All right. We're going to close up soon because Mr. Grizzly's on vacation. Just got a little bit of weather information for you, for those who are wondering. With Hurricane Beryl, it did...
Hitting the coast of Texas, I think.
Yeah, it's hitting the coast of Texas right now. Over the course of the weekend, it went to the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Areas under threat included the resort of Cancun. It was a Category 5 when it started, but when it hit the Yucatan Peninsula, it had slowed down to Category 3. After striking Mexico, its winds had slowed down to 60 miles an hour, but it was expected to rise to being a hurricane again before reaching the west. 11 people, as of I think this is data from Saturday, have died across the Caribbean from Hurricane Beryl earlier this week. Mexican officials say there were no deaths from the storm in Mexico. In Jamaica, they are in early stages of what's likely to be years of recovery. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, speaking to CBC News, said, quote, "We certainly escaped the worst, but we have sustained significant damage, serious damage. Many vacationers had trouble leaving the airport."
They did escape the worst of it, though.
Yes, they did, because it didn't make direct landfall on it, but they
goodness.
Still got all the winds and the surges.
There's a lot of damage, no question.
Oh, yeah. Disaster declarations have been made for dozens of localities along the Texas Gulf Coast before the storm hit, and it did gain power again. Landfall was expected early this morning with torrential rains, gale force winds of 130 kilometers an hour about, and storm surges of at least 7 feet. Greater than 100,000 people are without power. There's widespread flood warnings. Apparently, it hit south of Galveston, Texas. Galveston, Texas, I should say. Yes. State of emergency has been declared in 121 counties. There are greater than 7 million people who are under tornado watches at the moment. Schools are closed. Oil producers have ceased production. And the U.S. Coast Guard have closed ports in Houston, Texas City, Freeport, and Galveston. Still no word yet from where it is that it will travel from that point on, whether or not it will die out there in the Gulf Coast or keep moving up the Atlantic coast. So I'm keeping my ears open for information for that for you kits. If you are in Western Canada, you have a heat alert coming. Temperatures are soaring. There are warnings for at least 24 regions across British Columbia and Alberta, predicting highs in the 40s. Predicting highs in the 40s.
33 last night. It's going to be 35 today. Here's the funny thing. Once the sun sets, it cools off immediately. It was 4 degrees this morning.
Oh my.
So there's a 30-degree drop. Yeah.
Yeesh.
Oh, and also the sun sets sometime around 10 o'clock, so it's about 10:30 before it gets dark. It's quite a bit further north. So that throws you for a little bit of a loop, right?
Yeah.
And as you can see, the sun is just rising over the mountaintop here.
Yeah. I remember that when I was a teenager, the first time I was ever in Thunder Bay, I was calling home. It's like, it's still light out. It's 10 o'clock.
Well, and when I lived in Cold Lake, which is a little bit further north, it would be 11 o'clock before, it would be dusk at 11 p.m. So going to the drive-in when I was a kid in Cold Lake, the film started at dusk. Well, it was 11:30 by the time it was dark, and then I was out by the light. So I didn't see a lot of movies at the drive-in in the summer.
So yeah, there are 24 regions in BC and Alberta that have heat warnings. They're predicting highs in the 40s. Just to give you an idea, in California and Death Valley, greater than 50 had been reached over the past few days. This comes along with information from Copernicus, which is Europe's climate agency, that global average temperatures the last 12 months have been the highest on record. June was the warmest month ever recorded. It's the 12th month in a row to hit at least 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial averages, which is not good. Bill Merrifield, a research scientist at Environment and Climate Change Canada, says, quote, "It is an indication that we are getting close to that threshold. It won't be this year or next year, but sometime in the next decade or two." The reason why he's saying that is because a global El Nino pattern is contributing to the higher temperatures over the course of the last year. When that goes away, that will dissipate a bit, but there will be coming a time where we are going to be constantly El Nino year or not, 1.5 degrees above or more.
Which is not good.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
All right, kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. And clearly, Mr. Grizzly really does. because that's some commitment. Now, remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We love it when you do that. And if you would like to support us, well, you can, because the Ray Girl, once again, she's wonderful, she's fantastic, has sponsored our pod page for yet another year. So podpage.com, the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you scan that QR code, that'll bring you right there. Thank you so much when you go there. We appreciate it. If you would like to go to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, we've crossed 4,100 subscribers now over the weekend, so thank you very much. There are buttons there for you to flick, lick, and click. Like, share, and subscribe. Click 1, click 2, click 3. Do it with witnesses. Do it alone in the privacy of your own room. We don't judge. So long as you click us, we approve. And if you would like to support us in other ways, the True North Eager Beaver Emergency Hydration Fund, otherwise known as our tip jar, is located at our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word, or you scan the QR code that's by Mr. Grizzly's head there. And please make a contribution if you can. That helps us produce the show and deliver it to you. And Kids and Cubs, I know that you had been asking about subscriptions and whatnot. We are currently in discussions. Something just fell into our lap. Our friend JB is working on a project, and we might be able, we've got a couple of questions to ask, to try to figure out how it all works, but we might be able to have that up for you relatively soon. Of course, we'd be doing this in collaboration, so it wouldn't just be on our own schedule, so we can't give you a date. But yes, it looks like we might have an avenue to be able to do that, which would be absolutely wonderful. So, and those of you who would be able to subscribe, we really thank you. But there will be news coming on that. Not exactly sure when, but there will be news. We'd love to hear from you, so please write to us. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is where you can send us what it is, pictures of what it is you're doing on your summer vacation, for example, or that kind of stuff. Ooh, Mr. Grizzly looking cool with the shades.
Well, the sun is shining directly in my eyes, so
yes,
Miss Fox so brought over her glass. Well, they're hers, but you know.
Once again, our production assistant.
Yes,
Mademoiselle Fox to the rescue. You better buy her a really, really nice breakfast. She's working double time here. All right. Apparently the benefits are good, I hear.
Yes.
So yes, please donate if you can. We really appreciate that. Every cent you add is meaningful to us. And if you would like to write us, like I said, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, our Twitter feed @TrueEager, our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, or on our YouTube page, leave us some comments. We try to read everything. Let's see. I think that's everything. So because democracy is something that you do, please do. If you happen to live in Saskatchewan or British Columbia or New Brunswick, get involved either with your political party or candidate of choice or with your electoral body. Let them know that you're available to help work a polling station. That would be very helpful. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom, and what have you got planned today?
Words of wisdom would be, if you are in British Columbia or Alberta, stay hydrated. Try and stay out of the sun as much as possible when the temperatures reach really high. In the 30s, it's pretty difficult for you to cool down. Thankfully, there was the humidity here was about 18%, so there's no humidity. There's nothing.
Good.
It's very dry. Mind you, when we were in Calgary the other day at Stampeded, it was 70%, which is extremely high for Calgary. Normally it's so dry that you're just going through moisturizer constantly, but that was not the case the other day. Now, when we get back, I think that's going to be the case. But anyway, we are going on a hike, and I'm going to try. I want to do something I did 50 years ago with my dad, which is take the tramway up to the top of Whistler Mountain. because it's about 2,500 meters, so somewhere around 8,000 feet. You get a beautiful view of the valley and Jasper. And like I said, I did it 50 years ago with my dad. I'd kind of like to do it again. I know he can't really do it now because traveling for him is quite a bit more difficult, but it'd be like, I'll go up there, I'll take a photo with my arm around him, and then I'll just Photoshop him in.
Lovely.
We're supposed to go on a hike today and check out a couple of things, but I'm going to try and fit the tramway in if I can. I really want to do it, but we'll see. It's a schedule. We're on a tight schedule. So, and because I know that we're recording this evening, I might have to do it from the road with my laptop and my phone, but we'll figure it out.
Okay. Yes. Kit Saucy also says that there's a heat warning on the East Coast. So, said stay hydrated, remain in cool areas, don't do strenuous exercise during peak hours, light, loose clothing, all the stuff. All right. And water not only in you, on you, to cool down as well. Exactly. All right. And Kit Saucy also says, Saucy's a wealth of information today, that municipal elections are coming up in the fall for Nova Scotia as well. So there you go. All right.
Get out and vote.
Yes, get out and vote. Exactly. All right. I think that is absolutely everything. So, Mr. Grizzly, please roll the credits. And I have a Stampede-related Easter egg.
Well, I have one for you, too.
Okay. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, Mr. Grizzly, do you want to go first?
Yes, I will run this for you. This was from Calgary Stampede just on Saturday at Elbow. I forget what it's called. Anyway, it's just about 50 seconds of video I shot of something we attended.
Oh, I love watching the little ones.
Yeah, they're quite adorable.
They're so adorable.
They really are.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Kit Saucy, saw your suggestion. I did create the tweet so that everyone can sort of identify themselves, to have a roll call so you can all find each other on Twitter. I just send it to Mr. Grizzly and he'll post it in the chat. Right there it is. So you can all click on that and that way you can find each other. My Easter egg is related to yours, actually. It seems that the parade marshal for the Stampede this year was actor Owen Crochu, who started his career as a stunt rider.
Cool.
And his family has deep family roots at the Stampede. He and his dad, Chris, finished setting up a family teepee at Elbow River Camp on the
That's where we
grounds.
Elbow River Camp. Yeah.
There we go. As part of a tradition celebrating Indigenous culture that dates back to 1912. Quote, I grew up in Calgary. I grew up with the Calgary Stampede, so getting a chance to lead the parade as the parade marshal is a great honor for me. In the long line of Stampede parade marshals, Crowshoe might be overqualified because he's an emerging actor from the Pagani Nation, and Southern Alberta, but he got his start in the movie business as a stunt rider, following in his dad's footsteps. They were both in the Oscar-winning film The Revenant.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it was filmed here.
Yeah, indeed. So apparently actions and stunts and all that kind of stuff got him interested in the industry, and now he's taking on other roles that are not only stunt related.
Awesome.
So that was absolutely fantastic. His dad said about it that he's not really shocked at all of his son's accomplishments because he's the person that follows his dreams. So there you go.
Just want to give you an ad because that's where we were when I filmed. So it's a bit of a mini powwow, if you will. There were several teepees set up, and some of them were open. You could go in and talk to the folks inside. And I was, I've always heard about how the teepee was a very temperate. So I walked inside. It was like 33 degrees, and we're just roasting in the sun. You step inside, and it's at least 10 to 12 degrees cooler because of the way, like literally the way they're naturally engineered. There's the vent at the top, and the cool air would just come down in and blow out the front, and it was very comfortable. And you're in the shade, so it was great. Because first time I'd ever been in one, and it was really cool. So we had some interesting conversations with some of the folks that were there, telling us about how, Truth and Reconciliation Commission and what needs to take place. And I just said, I looked at him, I said, we, pointing at myself, have a lot of work to do. And he was like, thank you for acknowledging that. I'm like, no, 50 years ago, they weren't allowed to leave their community. Like, you're on this res and you can't leave. It's like, what? We had apartheid in this country, for those of you who are not aware. That is fact.
It is true. It is true. If you are, I have a picture of him here, actually, if you would like to put it up. And if you are looking, if you think that he looks familiar, he might very well be if you are watching the series called Horizon. Because he's one of the co-stars.
Very cool.
Owen Crowshoe. There you go. All right.
Awesome. All right, I got to go.
Have a beeferific day, everyone.
See ya.
Oh, yes, Copa America semifinal tonight, Canada versus Argentina.
No, tomorrow.
No, that's tomorrow night. That's Tuesday night.
Tuesday.
Tomorrow
Tuesday.
Night. Yeah, tomorrow night. Yes. But yes, go Canada, go. Woo!
See ya.